One of the most common questions I get in our business, especially after we train managers, is how do I coach two people who are valued employees but they don't work well together? And one of the things I think you'll find with Progress Coaching is we do something called application mapping, where we map our coaching strategies to situations. And we teach 14 different ways to coach. One of those methods is something called whiteboard coaching. Now, whiteboard coaching is really based on the power of visualization. And people can see what they need to do to change, they're going to become a little bit more willing to do so. The other tactic behind whiteboard coaching is when you facilitate whiteboard coaching, people will focus on the issues that are written on the whiteboard versus looking at your facial expressions and reading into what you're saying or what you're trying to say. So let's go back to our example. We've got two people who don't work well together. And I always ask managers, well, what are you doing? Well, I bring them in the office and I talk to them and I tell them they've got to work better together. Then I ask, so how's that going? And I typically get not very well. So one of the things that we have to realize is we are creatures of habit. And when somebody comes up and tells you what to do, don't we sometimes have a knee-jerk reaction as, why is he saying that? I think I do a pretty good job. We almost have this resistance button on our body somewhere. But I go back to people don't like to be told what to do. And what we typically do with two people is we bring them in, we reprimand them, we tell them, you've got to work better together. And they're nodding and they're sitting there saying, yeah. And what they're really saying is, gosh, this meeting's going to be over soon, right? When in fact, we have to facilitate the experience of working together and not force them together. I have a theory. I think not only between two different people, but even departments, we tend to get thrown together when there's difficulty. And we have to then tackle the most difficult challenges. And it's usually a project we're working on or something like that. So here's the strategy. It's called blind boards. What you're going to do is you're going to bring both people in and you're going to ask a series of questions. It is imperative you understand this. Do not go to the next step until the prior step has been completed successfully. Let me walk you through the steps. So let's say we have Tom and Julie. We bring them together and we say, Tom, Julie, obviously you two are not resonating and working as well as you could together. Wouldn't you agree that the two of you would be a lot happier if you did work better together? And I literally say it like this. I'm very matter of fact. And they kind of nod and they begrudgingly agree. And then you ask the big question, which let me give you a hint. They never answer immediately. You ask the question, what if I were to give you your choice of making the relationship better? Would you be willing to participate? They never answer. They always answer, well, like what? Almost like, I don't want to be too committed to making things better. That's how resistant we can be as human beings. And what you ask is then you say the same question over again. Well, look, if I give you something of your choice to make the relationship better, would you be a willing participant? I'm not going to go forward until I get a yes from both of you. And begrudgingly, both parties will answer yes. And then you move on to the third step. You say, Tom, I want you to go to this side of the whiteboard. Julie, you go to this side of the whiteboard. And I want you to write down 5 to 8 things you need from the other person. Now, before you write, you are not going to write it in emotional terms. You're not going to write, Julie, I get frustrated with you when. You're going to write, I need an email response within 24 hours. You're going to write them in very business imperative terms. So write down 5 to 8 things you need from the other person that you think would facilitate a better work relationship. So what they do when they're done is you have them switch boards, thus the term blind boards. You then have them prioritize by putting a number on the list of what they're committed to doing first. Here's the cool thing. If I can be so bold, here's the genius behind it. Typically, people will choose the easy things first, and that's what allows the relationship to have momentum. I have so many clients who have used this method through the years. And what happens is when relationships start to gain momentum, you know what? There's almost this awareness of, boy, were we being jerks? Boy, were we being resistant? Boy, it wasn't as bad as I thought. But what we tend to do is build up walls around ourselves of resistance. It's not me. It's got to be the other person. And that's a mentality a lot of us live with, right? So what Blind Boards does is it gives them something of their choice. It's a progression of questions you can ask. The whiteboard does some of the work. When you look at the list, you have the person prioritize, and then they start to gain momentum. Now, let's say there are 6 things in each person's list. My strong recommendation is focus on one of those things every single month. So you bring Tom and Julie back in. Tom, last month you wanted Julie to get back to you within 24-hour requests of emails. What is she doing successfully and where do you think she has an opportunity to improve? And then you go to the issue that Julie has with Tom or the opportunity to work more effectively together. Notice my questions. Where do you think she's exhibiting strengths and where do you think she has an opportunity to improve? And that builds some awareness. It's going to be perfection right away. It's going to be a little bit of arduousness in the beginning, but it starts to gain momentum. So how do you coach to that? So Tom, what are you learning about yourself you're committed to changing to make this relationship better? Julie, the same question for you. Julie, what do you think Tom is really showing a great deal of effort in terms of making the relationship better? And by the way, have you shown him your appreciation? Those type of questions get them feeling positive about one another. I hope this has helped. Let me know.